Yo, my name is Stix, and today I want to talk to all of you about Neverness to Everness. This is an upcoming open world urban action RPG with supernatural horror themes that I've been having a lot of fun in. But that wasn't always the case. I've streamed and played this, in theory, final and hopefully final beta test for approximately 30 hours on stream and off, acquiring footage, doing a lot of the content, as much of it as I could possibly do without burning myself out. I played the previous test phases. I was flown out to Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, where I got to showcase the game in both instances, and I wanted to not only talk about the state that the game is currently in leading up to its launch, but also the improvements that have been made between beta tests, because I'm going to be honest, it wasn't always as good, not even remotely close to being as good as it is now. So let's talk about that. Before we do though, I also want to take a moment here to point out that this video is sponsored. But before you guys jump to conclusions, this sponsorship is completely freeing. It is in no way influenced by the developers themselves. On the contrary, they gave me the option here to provide you guys the rawest, most genuine review, thoughts, impressions as I possibly could. That way we don't establish any false expectations for the game. If you're interested in pre-registering, I urge you to take a moment, go down into the pinned comment, the description below, click the link, pre-register right now. No, let's talk about the game because we have a lot to go over. As I noted, I have played every test phase of the game, and there have been significant improvements to the character models, to the combat, to the world exploration, to the features, everything. When I first got into the game, like the first thing I remember noting when I saw gameplay footage was that the characters were underwhelming. I looked at the appraiser, the main character, and thought to myself, wow, she kind of looks like an NPC. Now, however, her character model looks phenomenal. She is a fantastic looking character. The characters overall have seen significant improvements. If you all remember Mint, I feel like every single new version of the game has seen her buffed. I'm sure y'all know exactly what I'm talking about when I mentioned the buffs she's received. Another thing that I noted in at least 2 different test phases were the animation specifically for characters felt kind of janky, a little bit wonky, a little bit stiff. Well, not only have the characters, all of them, seen significant improvements visually and aesthetically, but the character animations have as well. The characters run around seamlessly. The animations, even in combat, look and feel a lot more impactful. Some of the characters feel very fun to play. Not all of them, granted. I love literally every single voluptuously shaped waifu. The males, however, like I've never been a fan of males in gacha games. I don't even pull for them even if they're meta characters. They just don't appeal to me. I've always been of the opinion that the characters I will willingly spend money for are the characters that I'm going to spend the longest time looking at. I'm a fan of waifu over meta. What that means is that I'm going to pull for the characters that I like the appearance of more than the characters that are going to deal maximal damage, which isn't to say that you can't synergize characters well between one another. As a matter of fact, there are numerous different ways of synergizing characters. There is an elemental affinity system that's kind of similar to something like Genshin Impact, but it's a little bit different. It's more unique to the characters and more tailored to this style of combat specifically. Every character has access to their own individual abilities, their all attack and combat styles, their own weapons. There's a parrying system. There's a perfect dodge system. You can also break bosses. They have this little gauge where after hitting them enough times, you can successfully break them, which stuns them, allows for you to unleash a barrage of attacks, maximize your damage output on them in that small little window of opportunity. These duo synergies allow for a lot of depth and customization for characters, which means that team building, while not necessarily a requirement, is definitely not going to be a detriment to your continued growth and your continued progression. Most of you are probably going to be pulling for meta characters, and I totally get it. I just can't bring myself to personally when we have characters that look like this. Graphically, there isn't really another gacha game out right now that looks like this. I guess the closest comparison you could make is ZZZ. And I think that having an urban open world like this with action combat, with vehicular transportation, the ability to glide, the ability to ride on trains, the ability to swim out in the ocean, that's just something that hasn't been done. Is going to appeal to an entirely new market of players. I know a lot of people are labeling this, like anime GTA, and with the GTA element, it is definitely going to open the world of Gacha up to an even larger audience, allowing this game to tap into and potentially grow at a rate unlike any other. Now, if you're not a fan of, modern buildings, streets, cities, then this might not necessarily be worthwhile for you, but there are a lot of areas in this game that are just so beautiful, stunning. The forest, as you traverse the world via the train or the tram, crossing the ocean, just the manners that you go into, the building, like this game, even some of your apartments, by the way, god damn, did they craft something incredible, genuinely incredible. I think the world itself has a lot of depth to it. You can freely explore. There are anomalies that you can run into. There are encounters just out in the world. There are quests, side quests. There are tons of things you can do, like races. There is the option of creating your own cafe. You can employ some of your characters at the cafe. You can earn a residual income while there. You can buy your own house or your own apartment. You can decorate it inside. You can not only move characters in, which is going to open up a whole can of worms for some people, but you can also directly interact with the characters. We're not talking just be like, hey, poke, poke. No, we're talking about you can hold hands, you can jump in the water with them, you can hug them, you can get up close and personal and do things with these characters you could do in no other gacha game, or at least no other open world, fully 3D gacha game like this. The housing system in this game, the apartment system in this game, fuck me, it is insane. The things that we're gonna do, guys, I'm not even joking. This is going to be the biggest gooner feature of the game, hands down, especially when you see the characters you can move in to your home, and being able to fully customize it by placing down like beds or couches and things like that is also really, really cool. But let's be real, we're only going to be placing those down so we can make extensive use of them. Speaking of characters, I like how they handle them in this game. We have the arc feature, we have the console feature, we have the ability to awaken them. The arc themselves is, I mean, the closest comparison I could make would be essentially be to a weapon. It has an attack stat and it provides passive boost to your character. This can be developed and upgraded, and you can actually obtain this through numerous different methods. If you navigate on over to the mall, you'll see that you can actually buy these in the ARC shop. There's ARC selection and ARC exchange. You can utilize the keys that you accumulate through playing the game to actually purchase any of these you want for numerous different rarities, which is actually insane. And we're going to touch on the other shop things in just a minute, because I know you see over there Fashion Shop, Fair Exchange, Hunter Exchange, and the Mode Shop. That this also means that you don't have to rely on a weapon gacha. This game has no weapon gacha in it at all. That's another bonus. There is the console feature. This is essentially like a form of gearing where you equip several different modules in a single cartridge. You have the main attributes, you have sub attributes. I also like that you can see on the side of the screen all of the sub attributes, which means you don't have to invest additional materials into upgrading them. You can immediately see, oh, okay, this has 600 HP, 48 attacks, 7.5% HP, and 6% crit rate. I don't like the HP on this, so I'm just gonna go for another one without having to invest in upgrading it in any capacity. The modules, however, you have to kind of slot into the console itself. This actually, I think, is one of the cooler methods with which to actually achieve character growth, because you are limited by how many things you can fit into that console at any given time. You have it's essentially Tetris, and how you slot them in will essentially and effectively determine how strong the console is and how strong then by extension your character is. You have to be very careful and slot the individual modules in a way that you can properly make use of, maximize the potential of, while also simultaneously trying to fit as many of them in as possible. Then there is the awakening system, and I think this is actually probably one of the coolest parts of the entire game. When you acquire a single dupe, you can apply any awakening effect on your character at any given time. So let's say typically in gacha games you have let's say 6 available upgrades, and the third upgrade provides you the best benefit other than the level 6 upgrade, which you get for actually obtaining 6 duplicates of a character. In NTE here, you can acquire the level 3 or the level 6 with your first dupe. There is no level 1 through 6 options at all. They're just all freely and openly available. Now you can only activate 1 per duplicate you have obtained, but this means that there's no real necessity to acquiring additional dupes, which is a lot more free to play friendly because you can adjust the awakening effect to the individual scenario that you are currently engaged in, which means if you need a higher damage, or you need a better support skill, or you need a specific passive, you can activate it with a single dupe. That is actually incredible. Speaking of the gacha, because I know that's very important when it comes to whether or not a gacha game is worth playing, whether the gacha game is free to play friendly or not. This is one of the most free to play friendly gacha games out there, hands down. Not the most, but one of, definitely, and arguably the most free to play friendly upcoming that we know of on the immediate horizon. Now let's cover the most important thing first. There is no 50-50, which means that once hitting that cap, you get the character. That's it. That's actually it. You get a guaranteed S-class character within 90 rolls. That's 90 pulls total. That means you don't have a guarantee at 100, you don't have a guarantee at 120, you don't have a guarantee at 160 or 180 after failing at 50-50. No 50-50 whatsoever. Instant guarantee at 90. And what's even better than this guarantee actually carries over between banners. So if you make it to 75 out of 90 and you don't acquire, during this banner nanally, then you'll have 75 out of 90 for the next banner, which means within 15 pulls you will hit your guarantee. Guaranteed! Yeah, it is actually that good. It is that free-to-play friendly. Now, I think the main topic of contention among the community back during previous beta tests was that the board itself, which is kind of like Monopoly a little bit, seemed really long, really drawn out, and kind of pointless. And I will state, immediately, I'm not a fan of the board itself. I like that you can just immediately skip it, so you still get that hit of dopamine that you'd get when doing your pulls, just like in every other gacha game. I think this is a very neat, this is a very cute style of presentation for the gacha, and for people that want something more out of it, so it's not just a quick pull animation. This is actually very cool, very thoughtful, and very innovative. It's not for me. In every gacha game that I play, hit skip immediately. I think this takes a long time to kind of watch unfold, even on 4 times speed, but for a lot of us who are just going to skip it anyway, this is not going to inhibit us in any capacity, and I think this is a great feature for people that actually want it. It's just not for me personally. One of the other cool things about the gacha is that you can also, while pulling, unlock outfits, unlock vehicle skins, unlock glider skins, all just while playing the board. This provides additional motivation to actually pull for characters. Like right now, as an example, you can get Nanali's little fighter skin, which is very cute, but you get that after doing 200 pulls, guaranteed. But speaking of skins, by the way, the skins in this game are very cool, and the game starts off with it. Now, I will stress here, I do have a bit of an issue with the skins right now, and that is that there are no male skins outside of the male appraiser. And I think there are plenty of women that want to play this game, that are going to love playing this game, but are going to want to decorate their husbandos, right? And I'm guessing that over time, after launch, there'll be outfits released for males, but while streaming this, I continued to have people come in tell me that they wish that males would receive outfits and not just the hot women. And I get it, I do. Like, looking at some of the female characters here, they have arguably some of the best, like, aesthetics in the game, just purely based off of, like, what it all accentuates. And the outfits themselves are phenomenal. You can actually obtain outfits in numerous different ways. You can navigate on over to the mall, which is what we're going to touch on. There's a fashion shop. You can purchase with premium currency some of the outfits. You can also purchase the outfits via in-game currency, which means there are a plethora of different outfits that you can obtain, and that paying players aren't really going to have too much of an advantage over free players, which provides free players a lot. Going to the Warp Exchange, you'll see that there are options to purchase poles, there are options to purchase keys, there are options to purchase character dupes, which is great. There's honestly a ton there. This game has been, from what I can see, very free-to-play friendly for free players that aren't willing to or just do not possess the ability here to spend anything. There are numerous events going on here. There's the login gift that gets you over a dozen pulls. There's the Anomaly Hunter's Journey, which rewards you with a lot of pulls as well, just by leveling up and playing through the game. There's a Hunter's Journal, which rewards you with lots of materials and currency just by leveling up. There is the Tycoon feature, which provides you access to so many different things. You have your property, which I noted is the apartments and the housing system. There is the cafe, which allows for you to earn a residual income and employ your characters there at each respective establishment. There are hobbies, the Hunter Exchange, the garage, and races. The hobbies included are things like city delivery, races, the owner's selection, swift travel, pink paws, high sea angler, little sparrow, tetraminos. There is also Mahjong, which I know they're overhauling. I tried Mahjong in the beta, but I just couldn't get people to actually play it. I tried the multiplayer racing, which was really fun. I tried the fishing. I did not like the fishing, actually. But they also noted that they were making overhauls to the fishing as well. I just felt like it was really clunky. The animations weren't very good. It just was very, like, unresponsive and unintuitive. And just, like, I'm not a big fan of fishing in video games anyway. It's always my least favorite thing to do. But it just did not feel good at all in NTE. And my wife, who loves fishing, would not enjoy it either. It's just, it was, I don't know, it just didn't feel very good and just felt very unrewarding. I do think that they could very easily make adjustments to it. They can just smooth out the animations, smooth out the impact a little bit, and make the controls better. Speaking of controls, since we're also looking at races, I think the controls for driving on controller itself were pretty good. The controls for driving on mouse and keyboard were not very good. Now, I actually stressed this in every single beta test, but it has gotten better. The control is definitely easier and it feels better, but it still, I don't think, is responsive enough necessarily on mouse and keyboard. So you'll often find yourself like trying to rotate the camera and hitting like A and D and still hitting things. And that's because it's just more difficult to do on mouse and keyboard. It might be more difficult to, I don't know, configure for mouse and keyboard, whereas things are just typically easier to drive in driving games or in games in general with a controller. So maybe this isn't even possible to improve. I don't know. I'm just calling it as I see it. This is one of the things that I had a bit of an issue with. I like the fact that you can customize your car too. Like, I'm not a big car guy. I don't really care. As long as my car is comfy IRL, I don't care what it looks like. As long as I can fit into it. I'm a 6'1" dude, over 200 pounds. So I require a big car. Now, the cars, you can customize a lot of them in this game, and I think that's one of the cooler aspects of it. I didn't do any real customization because I just don't care. Not every feature in every game needs to be taken advantage of, but providing this as an avenue of additional growth, additional progression, and additional customization is going to appeal to a lot of players. I have a friend, Ufi, that is a huge car girl, and she loves it. She loves everything about the vehicles and the vehicle system in this game. I also want to touch on the story. I have not had the best experience with it. The first major chapter where you go to that like theater and you have all those horror elements, you have like the different lighting styles. It was all so freaking good. Like, I would give that story, in terms of gacha games, like that is an easy 10 out of 10 in storytelling. It was incredibly enjoyable. It kept you guessing, but then it immediately moved on to something that was so much less interesting. And then you also, after that, moved into the Tagedo story, and I will point out that even in the beginning, Tagedo is a hot mess of a character that I absolutely hate. There are a ton of very good characters in this game that are voiced incredibly, that are presented really well, that have fantastic styles and aesthetics, but Tagedo is not one of them. I genuinely do not like this character. The vast majority of people I know do not like this character. We do not like the focus of this character in the story, but at the same time, the story disregarding him has been very good. Not all of it. There are parts of the story, like the follow-up to that first chapter, that first act, that were somewhat underwhelming. But the way that every story is still told, the character animations, the facial expressions, the expressiveness of the characters in general are all top tier. Like, this is one of the best looking gacha games out there right now in terms of expressiveness, expression, and character animation fluidity. But Tagedo, goddamn, they really need to defocus from this character. He appeared in so much of the main story. He appeared in side stories. He appeared in a story that I had for Lacrimosa that just like detracted from so much of it for me. Like, I love Lacrimosa's character. I loved Fadia's character. I loved Hotori's character. There are so many incredible looking characters, but every time he's on screen, it just makes me want to like Homer Simpson him. You know what I mean? Like, please, God, just do something about his character. Geez, I was editing back this video later in the evening and I realized I'd actually neglected to talk about one of the biggest attractions of the game, the wanted system, the jail system. When you go out and you attack NPCs, when you steal cars, when you engage in nefarious activities, you gain a wanted level. The police come out, attack you. They send out little drones to seek you out. And then, if you're caught, you end up in jail. In jail, you're forced to engage in numerous activities in an active effort to reduce your overall sentence time. Otherwise, you can just pay a fine rather than serve your sentence. This makes it a lot easier to actually engage in said nefarious activities and mostly get away with it. But at the same time, the jail system is actually kind of cool. There's so many activities you can do there that you can't do anywhere else. And there's a way to actually host like a jailbreak as well. I didn't get to do this. I didn't spend enough time in there. I actually caved. I did like 20 minutes of the jail system and I reduced my total sentence time by like 1%. And I was like, nope. Not doing it. I also wanted to briefly touch on the multiplayer. It's another thing that I completely forgot about. It is very fun. There are so many things you can do with other players. Mrs. Stix and I, I mean, you know, she's my wife. So naturally, as all wives do, she tried to kill me with the car numerous times, run me off cliffs, crash me into other vehicles, every single thing she could do to attempt to thwart my success, she did. And that's actually part of the fun, because you can both cooperatively drive in a vehicle together, engage in lots of different content together. Unfortunately, there was not the ability to engage in like the material farming together, which was interesting. I don't know if that's going to be changed, or maybe we're just doing it incorrectly, but we could not queue for it at the same time. I do think that if they're not already working on it, that they definitely need to, because it's a lot of fun. All the game modes are a lot of fun. Racing with other people is a lot of fun. You need to be able to do, like, the entire world should be doable cooperatively. And they definitely could do this. I have the utmost faith after seeing everything that they've implemented. Now, there have been ample improvements made over the course of the last 2 years of this game's open active development. I think the animations have been improved significantly. I think that the story is well presented. I never thought that the expressions ever needed improvement. They were always top tier. I thought the character aesthetics individually have all been very, very significantly improved. I think the voice acting's better. I don't know if that was changed or not. Maybe I just have access to more characters at this juncture. I don't entirely know. I definitely like the fact that they changed some of the actual weapon types and the combat styles of some of the characters to make them feel more unique and a little more differentiated from one another over previous beta tests. That was a nice improvement. I think the controls overall have been improved quite vastly. There is one final bit of feedback that I would like to not only give to the devs here, but also mention, because I think this is echoed all across social media. I feel like this is echoed across every content creator's community. This is the most talked about issue in the entire game, and I felt like it would be disingenuous of me if I did not include this, because so many people have talked about it, mentioned it, and have stated that they wanted me to bring this up. And that is the wall climbing and the wall running. We need to be able to universally run up walls. It makes running up buildings so much easier, so much faster, and having them bound to a single character like Nanily, like you can run horizontally, but having a vertical style of running exclusive right now as of this beta test to Nanily and the dog guy as well, who can like appear in like a little shadowy pool and technically run up walls. But we need to be able to access this on anyone. We need to be able to run up the walls like in other games. It's just easier, it just feels better, it just looks better, and makes transportation, traversal better. That's it, just better. Overall, this game right now, this beta, has been fantastic. It is not without its issues. All betas have issues. No game is perfect, even at release. No game is perfect, but this game still has been exceptional and has exceeded my expectations. Again, yes, this video is sponsored, but they said I could do whatever I wanted. I could say whatever I wanted. I had no restrictions whatsoever, which is why I also detailed the few things that I personally believe need improved. Do I think these are things that are going to necessarily deter people from playing? Not necessarily. Do I think these are going to drastically inhibit the game? No, I don't. They're just quality of life improvements that I think could make the game better. That's it. At the end of the day, that's all I want. More games to cover, more games to play, just like you. Again, if you're interested in pre-registering, go ahead, click the link down in the description, the pinned comment below, come on over and join everyone in hetero. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment, so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.